You're standing in your kitchen right now, looking at a bunch of bananas you bought 4 days ago, and half of them already look like they lost a fight. Brown spots, soft skins, that smell that tells you they're already turning. You think that's just how bananas are? I thought so too. For most of my life, I threw away more bananas than I ever ate, and I called it normal. But here's the truth that turned everything around for me. A bunch of ordinary grocery store bananas can stay firm, yellow, and sweet for close to a month, sitting right on your counter, using nothing but a few things you already have in that kitchen this very minute. No special gadget, no refrigerator trick that ruins the taste. Just an old piece of mountain knowledge that folks up in the high country understood long before the first cold truck ever hauled fruit across this land. I learned it from an old man near a place called Sugar Hollow, up where the ridges block the afternoon sun. He kept fruit longer than anybody I ever met, and he laughed when I asked him how. By the time I'm done, I'll show you exactly what he did, and I'll point you to a 1934 government fruit bulletin that quietly proved the old man right decades after he was gone. This works in any home, in any town, with the bananas you've already got. Now let me back up and tell you how bad it was for me, because I know some of you are exactly where I was. I used to buy bananas every single week. Every week the same thing. I'd bring home a nice green bunch, feeling smart, feeling thrifty, and within 5 or 6 days they'd be covered in freckles and going soft in the middle. I'd eat one or two, maybe mash a couple into some bread if I had the energy, and the rest went in the trash. I did the math one slow evening, and it made me sick. I was throwing away more than $100 a year in bananas alone, just bananas. That doesn't count the peaches, the apples, the tomatoes rotting on the sill. And I remember standing there thinking, my grandmother never threw away fruit like this. How did she do it? She didn't have anything fancy. She had a cellar, a few shelves, some newspaper, and a way of doing things that nobody bothered to write down because everybody just knew it. That's the part that got me. This knowledge wasn't lost because it stopped working. It was lost because it stopped being taught. And there's a reason for that, which I'll get to. Because once you see who benefits from you buying bananas every single week instead of once a month, you're going to be a little bit angry. I know I was. And the enemy here isn't the banana. It's an invisible gas. Here's the thing nobody in the grocery store ever tells you. A banana is not a dead piece of fruit sitting quietly in a bowl. A banana is alive. It keeps breathing after it's picked, and while it breathes, it lets off a gas called ethylene. That gas is the ripening signal. It's the banana telling itself, and every piece of fruit around it, hurry up, soften up, get sweet, get old, rot. The riper a banana gets, the more of that gas it pumps out. And the more gas there is, the faster everything ripens. It feeds on itself. It's a runaway train. Now, the old-timers didn't know the word ethylene. That word didn't get pinned to fruit ripening in the science books until around 1934, which is that bulletin I mentioned, and I'll come back to it. But the mountain folks didn't need the word. They understood the behavior. They knew that one rotten apple really does spoil the whole barrel, and they knew it because they watched it happen every autumn in the root cellar. They learned to respect that invisible thing moving through the air between their fruit, even without a name for it. So think about what that means for your kitchen counter. You've got a bunch of bananas, and they're all connected at the top, at that thick stem, that crown. That crown is where most of the ethylene gas escapes. It pours out of the cut stem like smoke out of a chimney, and it drifts down and washes over every banana in the bunch, and it pools in the bowl, and it speeds everything up. You bought them as a bunch because it looked convenient, but that convenience is exactly what's rotting your fruit. You're not storing bananas, you're running a little gas factory on your counter, and you're paying for it every single week. I didn't figure this out on my own. I want to be honest about that. I spent years being annoyed and doing nothing. It was that old man near Sugar Hollow who set me straight. And once he did, I couldn't believe how simple it was. But before I give you his method, I need you to understand why nobody handed it to you already, because that's the part that really lit a fire under me. Think about how a grocery store makes money. They make money when you come back. Every week you walk in, every week you drop your bananas in the cart, every week you spend. If your bananas rotted in 5 days, you'd be back in 5 days. That is not a bug in the system. For them, that is the system working perfectly. A banana that lasts a month is a banana you're not replacing 3 extra times. Multiply that across every household in this country, and you're talking about a river of money that depends quietly on your fruit going bad on schedule. Now, I'm not saying there's a man in a suit somewhere twisting his mustache and plotting to rot your bananas. It's simpler and colder than that. Nobody in that whole chain, from the grower to the shipper to the store, has one single reason to teach you how to make your fruit last. Not one. The knowledge that would save you money is knowledge that costs them money, so it just quietly disappeared. It didn't get put on the little sticker. It didn't get taught in the home economics class after they cut that program. It faded, generation by generation, until a bunch of grown adults genuinely believe that bananas are supposed to rot in under a week. That's not nature. That's just what happens when nobody tells you the truth. And the old mountain folks were the opposite of that grocery store. They couldn't run to town every week. Some of them lived a full day's ride from the nearest store, up switchback roads that turned to mud half the year. When they got fruit, whether they grew it, traded for it, or hauled it up from the valley, that fruit had to last. There was no second trip. Making food last wasn't a hobby for them. It was the difference between a good winter and a hungry one. So they got good at it, deadly good. And the tricks they worked out are the exact tricks that'll save your bananas today. So let me finally give you the first one, the one the old man showed me, because it's so simple you're going to be mad you didn't know it. It's the crown, that thick stem at the top of the bunch. Remember, that's the chimney. That's where most of the gas escapes. So you slow the chimney down. The old man used to take a bit of wax paper, the kind everybody had in a drawer back then, and he'd wrap it tight around the cut stem of the bunch. Just the top, just the crown. Wrap it snug and press it down so it seals against itself. That's it. That simple barrier traps a big share of the ethylene right at the source and keeps it from washing down over the fruit. Today you can do the very same thing with a small piece of plastic wrap, which seals even tighter than the old wax paper. Take your bunch of bananas and wrap that crown firm and complete, all the way around the stem, so no green shows through. If you want to do it even better, and this is what I do now, break the bananas apart from the bunch first. Separate every single banana. Then wrap the stem end of each one on its own. Now each banana is its own little sealed island. The gas from one can't rush over and ripen the next. I know it takes an extra 2 minutes. Those 2 minutes bought me 3 extra weeks of good fruit, and I'll take that trade every day of the week. I tried it the first time, not really believing it. I figured I'd get maybe a couple extra days, big deal. But I marked the calendar the day I bought them because I'm stubborn and I wanted to prove the old man wrong. Day 7, still yellow. Day 10, still firm. Day 14, I ate one and it was perfect. 2 full weeks, and I hadn't lost a single banana. I stood in my kitchen and I actually laughed out loud because I had spent 20 years throwing money in the trash for want of a 2-minute trick and a piece of plastic wrap I already owned. But wrapping the crown is only the first layer, and if you stop there, you're leaving days on the table, because there's a second enemy, and it's not the gas. It's something even more basic that your kitchen is getting completely wrong, And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Heat. Plain old heat. Where do most people keep their bananas? On the counter, in a bowl, usually near a window because it looks nice, and very often right next to the stove or on top of the refrigerator where the motor pumps out warm air all day. Every one of those spots is a slow oven. Ripening is a chemical reaction, and heat is the gas pedal. For every 10 degrees warmer you keep that fruit, you roughly double the speed of the reaction that's aging it. Your warm, sunny kitchen counter is doing to your bananas exactly what a warm afternoon does to a carton of milk left out. You're cooking them slowly, without even turning on a burner. The mountain people understood this in their bones, because their whole way of storing food was built around one thing: finding cool without freezing. That's what the root cellar was. That's what the spring house was. A spring house was a little stone building built right over a cold running spring, and the water kept the air inside steady and cool all year, summer and winter. They'd set their milk, their butter, their eggs, and their fruit down in there, and it would hold for ages. I've stood inside one of those old spring houses on a blazing July afternoon, and walking through that door was like stepping into a different season. Cold, damp, still air. That steady coolness is the single biggest secret to making anything last, and it costs nothing but knowing where to put things. Now you probably don't have a spring house. I don't either. Not anymore. But every single home has a range of temperatures in it, and most people never think about it. The top of your refrigerator is one of the warmest spots in your house. The cabinet over the stove is warm, but down low, in a bottom cupboard, in a pantry against an outside wall, in a basement, in a mudroom, in a closet on the north side of the house, it's cooler and steadier than your countertop by a good margin. Just moving your wrapped bananas off that sunny counter and into a cool, dark, low cupboard can add days all by itself. Dark matters too, because light adds heat and light drives the reaction. The old cellar was dark for a reason. That's the part that really lit a fire under me, and it's exactly why I put everything I've learned into a book, because this knowledge deserves to be held on to, not just watched once and forgotten. If you want the full collection of mountain food preservation methods in one place, the kind your grandmother's grandmother carried in her head, without a second thought I wrote it all down in Mountain Roots, and I kept building on it in Deep Mountain and Mountain Complete. Every method in those books is the real, tested, old country way, the kind that worked before there were stores on every corner. You can find them described in the description below. They are the kind of thing you read once and carry for the rest of your life. But now let's get back to the root of the problem, because you can't fix the problem until you understand the enemy. So now you've got two layers working together. You've sealed the crown to choke off the gas, and you've moved the fruit somewhere cool and dark to slow the reaction. Those two things alone will take you from a 5-day banana to a 2-week banana, easy, and it costs you nothing but a little wrap and a little attention. But I promised you close to a month, and I keep my promises. So, let me talk to you now, especially if you're the kind of person who's thinking, this is all fine for somebody with a big pantry and a basement, but I live in a small place, maybe an apartment, maybe just a few rooms, and I don't have a cellar or a cool north closet to spare. I hear you. This next part is built exactly for you, because the best part of this old knowledge is that it scales all the way down to the smallest kitchen in the world. You don't need land. You don't need a cellar. You need what you already own. Here's the everyday version, the one I'd hand to my own daughter in her little upstairs apartment. Take your bananas the day you bring them home, while they're still a touch green if you can get them that way. Break the bunch apart. Wrap each stem end in plastic wrap, snug. Then take those wrapped bananas and put them in the crisper drawer of your refrigerator. But, and this is the part people get wrong, only once they've reached the ripeness you like. Let me explain, because this is where most folks ruin a good banana and swear the trick doesn't work. A green, unripe banana does not belong in the cold. Cold shuts down the ripening before the banana gets sweet, and you end up with a dull, chalky, never quite right banana. That's called chilling injury, and it's why your mother probably told you never to put bananas in the fridge. She was half right. You don't refrigerate a green banana, but once a banana has ripened to that perfect yellow you love, the cold becomes your best friend. It slams the brakes on. The skin may turn brown and spotty, even downright ugly, in the fridge, and that scares people into throwing it out. Don't. Peel it. Inside, that banana is firm, pale, and perfect, held in that ideal state for a week, or even two past, when it would have turned to mush on the counter. So the whole rhythm goes like this, and anybody in any home can do it. Buy them green. Wrap the crowns. Let them ripen on the counter, out of the sun, until they hit the sweetness you want. Then move them, wrapped, into the crisper drawer to hold them there. You're not fighting the banana's nature. You're working with it. You let it ripen when it wants to, and then you catch it at the peak and you hold it. That right there is how you turn a 1-week fruit into a 3 or 4-week fruit in a tiny kitchen with nothing but a refrigerator and some plastic wrap you already have in the drawer. And here's a little extra the old-timers knew that fits any kitchen. Keep your bananas away from your apples and away from your tomatoes and away from your avocados and pears. Every one of those is a heavy ethylene producer, and if you crowd them all together in one pretty fruit bowl, they gas each other into an early grave. That beautiful mixed fruit bowl on the counter is a rot machine. Split them up. Give the bananas their own spot. That single change, costing you absolutely nothing, will surprise you. I separated my fruit, and my apples started lasting longer too, which I never expected. Now, I want to tell you about the thing that really convinced me this was old, real, buried knowledge and not just a kitchen tip somebody made up, because I went looking. Once the old man's trick worked for me, I got curious and I started reading. Old farm bulletins, old homestead manuals, the kind of dusty government papers nobody reads anymore, and that's where I found the proof that tied it all together. Back in 1934, researchers finally put a name and a mechanism to what the mountain folks had known by feel for 100 years. They confirmed that ethylene gas, given off by the fruit itself, is what drives ripening, and that controlling that gas and controlling the temperature could hold fruit in storage far longer than anyone in a hurry believed. It was written down in the government's own agricultural research in black and white decades ago. The knowledge existed. It was proven by the very institutions people trust. And then it just quietly never made it to your kitchen. It stayed locked in the language of shippers and warehouses, the people who move fruit by the ton, while the ordinary person at home was left to figure it out, or, more often, to just keep throwing money away. Think about that. The big commercial warehouses have used controlled temperature and controlled gas to hold bananas and apples for months, literally months, for the better part of a century. The technology to make fruit last was never the problem. The knowledge was never lost to them. It was only lost to you. That's what got me heated. The same fruit that turns to mush in your bowl in 5 days sat in a warehouse for months before you ever bought it, held there deliberately, on purpose, by people who understood exactly how to do it and had zero reason to teach you. But now you know, and once you know, the game changes for good. So let me give you the last piece, the finale, the one that ties the old mountain wisdom together with that buried research and takes you all the way to a month. This is the part I saved, because this is the part almost nobody knows. Remember the spring house? That cold, damp, still air over the running water? There were 2 secrets in that spring house, not one. Everybody remembers the cold, but the old-timers knew a second thing, And it's the thing that separates fruit that lasts a couple weeks from fruit that lasts a month. It's moisture, humidity. A banana doesn't just rot from the inside because of gas. It also dries out from the outside. The skin loses water, breaks down, and that breakdown invites the softening and the spoiling to come faster. The dry air of a modern heated or air-conditioned home is pulling the life out of your fruit from the outside while the gas ages it from the inside. You've got two thieves working at once. The spring house solved both. It was cool, which slowed the gas, and it was damp, which kept the skins from drying. And here's how you do the exact same thing this weekend, in any home with things you already own. After you've wrapped the crowns, take your bananas and stand them in a paper bag, not a plastic one, a paper bag, and then set that bag in the coolest low spot you've got, that bottom cupboard or that north closet. The paper holds a gentle, breathable humidity around the fruit without trapping the water that would cause mold, mimicking that damp spring house air, cool from the low dark spot, damp from the paper, gas control from the wrapped crown. That is the spring house, rebuilt on your kitchen floor, out of a paper bag and a piece of plastic wrap. And if you want to go one step further, the way the sharpest old mountain woman I ever knew did it, you give those bananas a quick bath before you store them. A weak vinegar rinse. 1 part plain vinegar to about 10 parts water. Dip the bananas or wipe them down and let them dry completely before you wrap and store them. That mild vinegar wipes away the invisible mold spores that ride in on the skin from the store, the spores that would otherwise take hold and spread the moment the fruit softens. She swore by it for every bit of fruit she brought into the house, and after I started doing it, I stopped seeing that fuzzy mold that used to creep in at the stem. She learned it from her mother, who learned it from hers, a chain of women passing down a defense against spoilage that no store would ever tell you, because the store needs your fruit to spoil. So, there it is. The whole thing, start to finish. Wash the spores off with a weak vinegar rinse and dry them well. Separate the bananas. Wrap each crown to seal the gas. Let them ripen out of the sun to the sweetness you love. Then hold them either in a paper bag in a cool, dark, low cupboard or in the crisper drawer once they're ripe. Keep them away from your apples and tomatoes. Do that, and a bunch of ordinary grocery bananas that used to betray you in 5 days will stand firm and sweet for 3 to 4 weeks. I've done it. I do it every single time now, and I haven't thrown away a rotten banana in years. And every time I peel a perfect banana that's been sitting in my kitchen for 3 weeks, I think about that old man near Sugar Hollow, and I think about all the years before him when I just didn't know, when I let the store set the schedule and I paid the price every week without a word of complaint. That's the real thing you're getting back here. It was never really about bananas. It's about who decides how you live. For most of my life, somebody else decided. The store decided when I'd come back. The waste decided how much I'd lose. I just went along with it, because I didn't know there was another way. And the day I learned this, I got a little piece of my independence back, one that my grandmother had and I'd let slip through my fingers. That's what these old skills really are. They're not quaint. They're not just for show. They're freedom, handed down from people who couldn't afford to depend on anybody, taught to us just when we need them most. If you've read this far with me, you're not the kind of person who takes a convenient answer just because it's easy. You're the kind who wants the tested way, the real way, the way that worked before there were stores on every corner and still works today. That's the mountain man way, and it's yours now. So let me ask you something, and I really want you to answer this one. How much fruit do you figure you've thrown away over the years just because nobody ever told you the crown was the chimney? Think about that number, and then tell me down in the comments, what's the one food you waste the most of in your house? Bananas, bread, lettuce, leftovers, whatever it is. Write it down below, 1 word or 2, because I read them, and the ones you name most are the ones I'll dig up the old mountain method for next. Don't be shy, just tell me. And if getting this back meant something to you, if you felt that little spark of, why did nobody ever tell me this? Then walk with me. There's a whole world of this knowledge that got buried the same way, and every week I dig another piece of it up and hand it back to the people it was stolen from. This isn't about following a channel. It's about joining a bunch of stubborn, independent folks who are done paying for things our grandparents got for free. Next time, I'm going to show you how those same mountain people kept eggs fresh for 6 months without a refrigerator, using one cheap thing off any pantry shelf, a method the government tested and confirmed and then let the world forget. You're going to want to hear that one. 6 months, no refrigerator, one common ingredient. I'll see you there. That old mountain method I showed you, inside my membership, the Mountain Man Circle, I lay out the full fruit storage method, step by step, picking up right where this video stopped. Ask me your own question in there, and a real person, me answers you myself. And you won't be alone. Folks like you are already inside. Just point your phone's camera at the code on the screen. Cancel anytime, one click. No risk.